Welcome back to Ghost Pirate Entertainment. I'm your host, Kanan Becker, and today we do another deep dive into Tubi. And let's get to the list. Kristy is a 2014 horror thriller. Directed by Ole Blackburn, it stars Haley Bennett, Lucas Till, and Ashley Green. When a college girl who is alone on campus over the Thanksgiving break is targeted by a group of outcasts, so she must conquer her deepest fears to outwit them and fight back.
Overnight, police in Oregon announced they found the 21-year-old's body on...
I just discovered this movie just this past week, and I had never heard of it at all, but I was listening to one of my favorite podcasts, Colors of the Dark, which if you've never checked out with Rebecca McKendry, you need to do yourself a favor and check that podcast out. It's so good, but they talk about deep dives pretty often and things that just a lot of people don't talk about in the horror world. I don't always like everything that they talk about, but I have found some gems, and this is definitely one of them. It's so intense, it's heart-pounding, it's thrilling. I mean, it basically is a home invasion type of slasher type of deal, but it's the way that it's shot, it's the acting, it's all those intangibles that really make it shine. Because does it reinvent the wheel? No. But it does all the things so well that it makes it a definite must-watch. The City of Lost Children is a 1995 French sci-fi fantasy thriller, directed by Marc Caro and Jean-Pierre Jeunet. It stars Daniel Immelfork, Ron Perlman, and Judith Vitette. A scientist in a surrealist society kidnaps children to steal their dreams in hopes that it'll slow his aging process. This is a very borderline horror movie. It's not exactly horror, but it's so creepy and disturbing and uncomfortable. Just the way it's shot, the lighting, the acting, everybody has this real surrealist vibe about them, and it just gives me the willies. And it's just always made me feel so dirty and uncomfortable. But it's incredibly well shot. The cast is phenomenal. Everything just looks, like I said, like you're in some kind of fantasy, dark, demented dream. This is one that if you've never seen it, you need to absolutely add it to your list.
I want you to help me.
I won't abandon you.
The Exorcist is a 2016 supernatural horror series. Created by Jeremy Slither, it serves as a direct sequel to the 1973 original film. It stars Ben Daniels, Alfonso Herrera, and Gina Davis. The story follows two priests who are dealing with cases of demonic presence, targeting a family and a foster home.
There are things going on in the house. In my house, there are voices inside the walls.
This year we had the Exorcist requel, and I was pretty disappointed, to be honest. It was actually on my list of the worst movies of this year, to be honest. I just did not think it worked. I didn't feel like it brought anything interesting to the game, didn't do much of anything with the property, not like it could have. But I think it's a real shame because you have this series out there that continues this story that the original movie did and actually does a really good job. It has great characters with solid storytelling, and I really liked the special effects. It's dark, it's creepy, but unfortunately it only lasted 2 seasons. But I still think it's worth watching because it's a lot of fun. I really enjoyed this series, and it goes really well with the original, the original Exorcist. So if you're like me and were disappointed by the David Gordon Green movie, but you're still wanting something Exorcist, this is definitely a great pick. The The Wolf of Snow Hollow is a 2020 black comedy horror movie. Written, directed, and starring Jim Cummings. It also stars Riki Lindholm, Chloe East, and Robert Forrester in his final performance. The plot's about a stressed out police officer that struggles to not give in to the paranoia that grips his small mountain town, as the bodies turn up after each full moon. This is a fun movie, but it isn't exactly a laugh out loud kind of comedy. It's more of that morose, dark, twisted kind of sense of humor. Like I said, it's a black comedy, but it's not throwing jokes at you, it's more of situational humor. But the characters are what really make this movie shine. Jim Cummings is fantastic in this because he's just losing his damn mind as all this stuff is going on around him, and he's trying to figure. It's also really great to see Robert Forrester in this. He's always been one of my favorite actors, but sadly this is his final performance as he died shortly after shooting this. But it's a great ride that takes a lot of different twists and turns and keeps you guessing all the way to the end. I think this is a really solid movie that's absolutely worth checking out.
Simon says. You think you're done with the past, but the past is not done with you.
The Gift is a 2015 psychological thriller. Written, directed, and starring Joel Edgerton in his directorial debut. It also stars Jason Bateman and Rebecca Hall. When a married couple unexpectedly encounter an acquaintance from the man's past, little do they know their perfect lives will be thrown into a terrifying tailspin.
Welcome home, smiley face, Gordo.
How do you think he got our address? That's an expensive bottle of wine. We should thank him.
I believe that the bad things in life, they can be a gift.
This movie gets so much darker, so much more brutal and savage than I ever expected it to. Because the whole movie, it just kind of slowly amps up. It becomes more and more uncomfortable as these different scenarios play out, and you start to learn, how dark this character, this villain is, this guy that this couple runs into. And then when you think you've got it figured out, and you think you see how dark and twisted it actually is, it goes and flips around and unfolds into something totally different. It's one of my favorite psychological thrillers in recent memory, but also keep in mind, there's multiple movies called The Gift. So it's easy to get confused on which one you've seen or which one this is, but this is the one with Jason Bateman from 2015. And if you've never seen this, I highly, highly recommend it. A Dark Song is a 2016 Irish-British horror drama. Written and directed by Liam Gavin, it stars Catherine Walker and Steve Oram. A determined young woman and a damaged occultist risk their lives and souls to perform a dangerous ritual that will grant them what they want.
May all my transgressions be washed. My transgressions.
This is real stuff we're playing with. Real angels, real demons.
This movie is so dark. It's so twisted. It gets so anxiety-ridden and uncomfortable, but it's so well done. It gets so emotional and so compelling as you see these two characters going through just the most insane ritual. And it takes it step by step, but it's like each step takes them further and further down into this dark pit of despair and just horribleness that starts to happen. But it is a slow burn, so you got to be patient. But I think it's very much worth the wait because it really pays off in the end. But if you're a fan of slow burn art house horror, this is one you absolutely need to see.
This isn't the end.
The Void is a 2016 Canadian Lovecraftian horror movie, written and directed by Stephen Konstanski and Jeremy Gillespie. It stars Aaron Poole, Catherine Monroe, and Ellen Wong. Shortly after delivering a patient to an understaffed hospital, a police officer experiences strange and violent occurrences, seemingly linked to a group of mysterious hooded figures. This movie is badass. If you're a fan of Lovecraftian movies like I am, this is definitely one of the coolest ones out there. Now keep in mind, it is a small movie, so it isn't like they had a huge budget, but they do a lot with what they have. and it does lose a little bit of steam towards the end, but there are plenty of just horrific scenes, uncomfortable, just wild, grotesque imagery. It's just really, really cool, and there just isn't enough Lovecraftian movies like this out there. I've been wishing for years now that they would make a sequel to this, or that they would do something else along the lines of this at least, because there just isn't enough. I don't understand why there's not more, Lovecraftian type of cosmic horror movies like this, because it's one of the most disturbing subgenres, I think, in horror. So is this movie perfect? No, but if you're a fan of occult, Lovecraftian, cosmic horror movies, this is one you have to see.
Can you see?
Blackwater is a 2007 Australian horror movie, written and directed by Andrew Trocchi and David Nerlich. It stars Diana Glynn, Maeve Dermody, and Andy Radarita. The story's based on true events about a boat tour in northern Australia that turns into a fight for survival when a group of people are attacked by a ferocious saltwater crocodile.
What was that?
Like I said, this is based on true events, and it feels like it. There's something about this movie, it just has this kind of low quality, it's a, you can tell it's on a micro budget kind of thing, but the performances in this are what really make it feel so real. And the whole story in general is kind of simple. It's not this really extravagant story where it just kind of one thing happens and then another and it keeps escalating. This is more of a real world situation, and you can just feel that it's based on a true story. And it gets pretty terrifying because it does a great job of putting you into this real world scenario. So I think it's a great pick to add to your list. Gretel and Hansel is a 2020 dark fantasy horror movie, directed by Oz Perkins with a screenplay by Rob Hayes. It stars Sophia Lillis, Sam Leakey, and Alice Krieg. A long time ago in a fairy tale countryside, a young girl leads her little brother into a dark wood in desperate search for food, only to stumble across a nexus of terrifying evil.
Look! It smells of cake!
I've been in love with this movie ever since it was released. Unfortunately, it really kind of flew under the radar because of the whole pandemic situation. It was in theaters, but only for like a brief moment, and just never really got the love that I think it deserved. But I just love the look and style of this movie more than anything, because it tells the story of Hansel and Gretel, but in kind of a unique way. It's not exactly the story that we've grown up with. It's a little darker, a little more closer to the original writing of the story. But in general, it does take a few twists and turns and does have some surprises that you're not going to expect. But the visuals, the mood, and atmosphere of this are what really make it so special. And I think Alice Krieg as the evil witch is just amazing. She's horrific, terrifying, just the way she looks in general, it's phenomenal. She just absolutely slays this role. So I know a lot of you out there have seen this, but I think it's a great rewatch. But if you've never seen it, by all means, do yourself a favor and check this one out.
Something's wrong with me.
Slither.
Slither is a 2006 dark comedy sci-fi horror movie. Written and directed by James Gunn in his directorial debut. It stars Nathan Fillion, Elizabeth Banks, Greg Henry, and Michael Rooker. A small town is taken over by an alien plague, turning residents into zombies and all sorts of mutant monsters. So for the last pick on this list, I always like to throw one in that's just fun, that's just silly, not one to take serious, not one that I would consider scary, but just a great time. And this one is that as much as anything out there, because it's silly, it's over the top, it gets extremely gross and sticky, icky, but man, oh man, do I have a blast with this movie. I just really enjoy James Gunn's humor ever since his beginnings with this movie. I love what he's done with the Guardian of the Galaxy movies. To me, those are by far the best of all the Marvel movies. Every one of them has just been a great time. But just in general, his sense of humor, the way he attacks things in this adult way, like there's a fun-loving element to it, but it's also really R-rated. And I love that. I think that we need more of that. And he just had it from the very beginning. But this movie is definitely not one to take serious at all. It's just a goofy, silly, campy good time. So do yourself a favor this weekend, pick one of the movies off of this list, grab your popcorn and your candy canes and enjoy. And that's gonna do it for me today. Thank you so much for checking this out. If you enjoyed this, do me a favor, hit the subscribe button and ding that little bell, because that is the best way to keep track of this channel. And when I post videos like this, and I post videos like this every single week, I also want to give a huge, massive, enormous thank you to the Ghost Pirate crew, to you guys over on Patreon, and to the channel members over here. You guys absolutely mean the world to me. And if you would like to help support this channel over on Patreon, there's a link down in the description. Or if you want to become a channel member and help support the channel that way, there's a button right down there that says join. But like always, thank you so much for watching. Please crush that like button, and remember guys, horror can be fun! And if you enjoyed this, click right here to watch me list the 10 most shocking horror movie moments of 2023. And I'll see you guys next time!